his second novel, Kazuo Ishiguro created a tour de force set during the calm after the storm of Japan's post-war years. An Artist of the Floating World is an understated, perfect little novel written in beautiful, understated prose. And today, I'm here to talk about it and why you should read it. An Artist of the Floating World was published in 1986, and it is the second novel by the Nobel Prize winner, Japanese-born British author Kazuo Ishiguro. Although An Artist of the Floating World is not as well known as some of his other novels like The Remains of the Day or Never Let Me Go, it is my favorite novel by Ishiguro. In An Artist of the Floating World, Ishiguro explores Japanese identity in the light of recent history through an aging painter and his multi-generational family. The novel is set in Japan after World War II, and I think it is quite remarkable that Ishiguro chose to set his first two novels in Japan, because he moved to England with his family when he was only 4 or 5 years old. So Ishiguro not only grew up in England, but after his family's migration, he only visited Japan for the first time in 1989. That is 3 years after the publication of An Artist of the Floating World. And that is remarkable because Ishiguro paints an incredibly vivid picture of Japan in this novel, even though his native country was at that point just a place in his imagination. But what is An Artist of the Floating World about? Well, it tells the story of an elder artist named Masuji Ono. He's the narrator and protagonist of the novel. His story is simple, but different strands are interwoven in the structure that corresponds to the 3 years in which the novel is set. The present day is 1950, but Ono also recounts episodes from 1948 and 49. Japan is now occupied by the US. The local population is still reeling from the atomic bombs that fell on Nagasaki and Hiroshima dropped by the US. Veterans like Ono want to forget not only about the war, but also Japan's imperial past and their role in it. That is why Ono spends most of his time at home tending his garden and thinking. After losing his wife and his son during the war, the only family Ono has left are his 2 daughters Setsuko and Noriko and his grandchild Ichiro, who is Setsuko's son. Setsuko is already married, but arranging a marriage for the younger sister Noriko is proven to be difficult. You see, marriage has to be negotiated between the two families, but Ono's past and the secrets it bears have gotten in the way of arranging a good marriage for his daughter once before. How can that be avoided on a second attempt? Okay, I'm going to talk about Ono's secrets now, but you can safely skip to the next section if you would like to avoid any spoilers. You'll find the sections down below in the show notes. Okay, so what are the secrets in Ono's past? You might have guessed that they relate to the old regime, and you would be right. Everything is revealed in the novel. Before the war, Ono was an artist of the so-called floating world. Floating world is a phrase that means the nightlife, the geishas, that kind of thing. But in the 1930s, he began to paint patriotic or pro-government propaganda pictures. And not only that, but he also acted as an advisor for the so-called Committee of Unpatriotic Activities. It was in that capacity that Ono betrayed one of his students and protégés by denouncing him to the secret police. And as a result, Ono's protégé was imprisoned and tortured. That's it, I promise no more spoilers between now and the end of the video, okay? So Ono is an unreliable narrator, okay? And he makes no secret of that. He makes many digressions, and the cruelest aspects of his past are never revealed. You see, Ono is grappling with his role before and during the war, and that cannot be something that is easy to do. There are things he cannot remember, but there are also other things that he would rather not remember. An Artist of the Floating World is also a novel about intergenerational conflict. There are 3 generations of the same family in this novel, and one of my favorite elements of the book is Ono's interactions with his family, mostly with his little grandson Ichiro. You see, Ichiro's cultural references are all Western, specifically American, of course. For example, he's obsessed with cowboys. But despite that generational gap between him and his grandfather and the lack of common ground between them, Ono and Ichiro share a strong bond in the novel, which is lovely to read. What keeps us reading on is trying to find out who Masuji Ono really is. Now, I'm not a big reader of Japanese literature in general, which is something that I would very much like to correct. So it was very tempting for me to think of this novel, An Artist of the Floating World, as a Japanese novel. But it is not really a Japanese novel. It is an English novel set in Japan, which is far from being the same thing. For one thing, this is not a translation. But mainly what I mean when I say that it is an English novel is that you don't need to know anything about Japan or its culture to enjoy this novel as a non-Japanese person. Everything here is generic enough so that readers of all backgrounds could enjoy it and also get to the heart of the story and its meaning. And that is one of the strengths of this novel. There are no exotic quote-unquote symbols or metaphors that us Western readers would struggle to understand. This is just a great novel about memory, self-perception, the role of art in politics, family, intergenerational conflict, and contemporary history. And everything is beautifully written in just over 200 pages. An Artist of the Floating World is a treat for readers, so I give it 5 out of 5 stars.